Namaste. Assuming everything is going well, welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I'm on a different computer today. I've set up the live stream, hopefully in a way that mirrors how it was before. As those in the last live stream will know, my laptop started short-circuiting and it became the world's worst electric incense burner, creating smoke. So I've temporarily retired my laptop and actually replaced it with my desktop. And I haven't streamed in this setup before, so I pray that it shall go well. But yeah, I'm grateful to be here. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to ensure my audio is coming through clearly. And all of that logistical stuff. But welcome to our first viewers. Happy to have you here. I trust you are feeling as well as you can be in this moment. Sounds good? Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you, Cody. Welcome, Enzo. Hello, dear Michelle. My outfit is so trippy. It is a little trippy, isn't it? Looks like a good fractal. Hello, dear Raven. Hello, Ashley. And thank you, Neon Jello Pack, for blessing us with a heart me already. Jai Sitaram. Hello, Average Avarice. I'd love to know how you're all feeling in this moment. If you want to share, of course. You don't have to, but know that I make space for you and what you're going through. Hello, dear Rachel. Hello, Tatomasi. Thank you for your quintet of roses. Ganganapataye Namah. If you are going through anything difficult, anyone, please remember that this too shall pass. I believe in your higher perception, Raven. Hello, dear Gina. Dear Cody, you share your friend is questioning his life path and you'd like to help him. Anything come to mind? Well, I'd affirm that questioning is definitely a natural part of all of our paths on life. It's very healthy to question. I would affirm your friend that they are on the right path, whichever they choose to go. Whatever brings out their happiness in a genuine and authentic way, that is meant for them. You feel well rested, dear Michelle, because I didn't keep you up all night with a long live stream. I'm happy you feel well rested. Hello, dear Melinda. Lots of happy tears today. You had a beautiful day. Oh, I'm very grateful to hear that. Dear Average Avarice, you share you're waiting for something to pass. I feel you. Of course, dear Cody. And you are a wonderful friend for just considering them and what they're going through. Hello, Stop Talking. Nice to see you again. It's been a while. You're feeling tired, Gina? But okay, lunchtime now? Well, I hope you re-energize with your meal. Thank you, Hebrew Hammer. Shalom, shalom. Hare Krishna, dear human. And hello, Nilza. Thank you, I don't know. Tattwamasi, you're wondering if the Yamathon is today or tomorrow. For Maha, Shivaratri, probably not. Maybe tomorrow, but we'll see it. There are other responsibilities in my life at this time. We will absolutely be doing something for Shiva though. we will be doing a wonderful mantra at the end, assuming all goes well and Shiva retains his mercy on my computing setup this time. Now, I'd like to set the intentions for this space as being an all-inclusive environment, open to everyone regardless of background, identity, orientation, belief system, ethnicity, etc. May we come together as fellow students of life to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Bharvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidrishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That's the peace mantra, the Shanti prayer from the Taittiriya and Katha Upanishads. Translates to: Om, may the divine protect us both together. May the divine nourish us both together. May our studies be vigorous and effective, and may we not mutually dispute or hate any. Om, may there be peace in us. May there be peace in our environment, and may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Neangelo Pack, you sure you fell asleep before all the commotion? What happened to my laptop? So my laptop started saying low battery, which I thought was strange because it was plugged in and it knew that it was plugged in. So I thought, is something wrong with the cord? Is, my setup just draining too much energy from my laptop? And then I thought I smelled smoke, and then I actually started to see smoke after it kind of went to sleep a couple times. And I've had a sneaking suspicion that there's been a short circuit intermittently firing for a while, because every now and then I get a whiff of ozone, which is what you smell in an electrical fire, because ozone is O3 molecule, and when electricity passes through air that contains oxygen, it can convert that O2 into O3. Not a good thing to be smelling. So I retired my laptop. For some reason, it's still somehow functioning. I don't know what's short-circuiting, but it's definitely built for redundancy. I've just left it aside, and I've actually used my desktop computer and set it up on top of my coffee table. So far, it seems like this setup is working. I've tried to make it all as it was before. Audio, visual. Did some color grading, as dear Greg RG has observed. And hello, dear Aira. Thank you for your heart, me too. Bharam Bhairvaya Namo Namah. And dear I Am Princess Mom, thank you for your heart, mate. Radhe, Radhe. Thank you, Kotaline, for your heart, mate. Ram, Ram. And thank you, Gina, for your pair of roses. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Wonderful questions in chat. Dear Jack, you share just going on intuition. What do you need to hear right now? That everything you need to know, you already know. It just matters most what you make of that. Oh yeah, we're all safe here. Don't worry, dear Neangelo Pack. Dear Ems, you're asking, what is my religion? Or is it spiritual religion? And Average Avarice, you're wondering, what religion am I, if you don't mind you asking? Am I Buddhist? Asks Ems. I am not any particular religion. I'm not associated with any organization or tradition. However, there's room here for all traditions to coexist, assuming we can find the universal message that underlays them all. I like to make this space as one where you can feel allowed to practice whatever makes sense to you. I hope everyone here doesn't feel challenged in their beliefs, but only enhanced. That if you're a Christian, that you're welcome to be here, and I hope for you to be an even better Christian by the end of this live stream. Or if you're a Buddhist, you're allowed to be here, and I hope you become an even better Buddhist somehow by the end of this live stream. Same thing for any religion you might think of, or no religion at all. I just hope we can continue to rise in our kindness, in our empathy, in our understanding. I like to draw from the philosophy of yoga, which arose in ancient India. And it's a path that I feel complements every path, because yoga literally means union. It's about bringing things together in harmony. Thank you, I am Princess Mom, for another rose. Never expected, but always appreciated. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Jack, you had asked if I could give one message to the world. What would it be? You know, I would say, oh world, what do you have to teach me? I feel like everyone already has everything they need to know within them, everyone in the world, but I am on an eternal quest to learn from everybody. So I'd ask the world, what can you teach me? Dear Greg RG, you're wondering if I know how to build computers. You used to want to build one. You know, I actually don't know how to build computers. I know very little about computer hardware. I'm a lot more familiar with computer software and programming. But how a computer works physically, I'm just as amazed as the next guy. But my grandfather would build gaming PCs. That was his hobby later in life. And that's actually the computer that's hosting this live stream at the moment. Is his own personal gaming computer. Before he passed away, he had intended on giving it to me. It was in his will, so I'm very grateful. And it's something like 6-7 years old now, and computer hardware has definitely had many releases, so even though it's that old, it's still running very well since he built it very well. I wish I could channel my grandfather's computer building abilities and help you, dear Greg RG. Hello, dear Maya, and thank you, Isabella. Marcy, you share you have agua as a sangha snack. Well, that's very healthy. I have green juice made of different veggies and fruit. Thank you for sharing peace, Saladin. I feel you, I am Princess Mom. Om Namah Shivaya, dear Nyo. Happy Maha Shivaratri. Dear Smoky Red, you ask, what do I think of being in a position to try to expand your mind and soul, but not having much to? I think your comment got cut off. I can't assume where your comment was going, dear Smoky Red, but if you feel like you're limited in terms of resources or experiences to expand your mind and soul, please know that you have everything. All you need is exactly what you shared, a mind and a soul. Because where did the great spiritual teachers go when they wanted to expand their mind and soul? Inward. And if inward is what you have regardless of your experience and resource, given your circumstance, then fret not, for all you have to do is meditate. And thank you, Rainbow Mom, for the manifesting. That's very beautiful. Om Bhur Swa Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Dear Isabella, thank you for your finger heart. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namah. Dear Koshi Dops, you asked to please talk about the math behind the new quantum chip. I don't know much about the math behind the new quantum chip that everyone's talking about, the Manana from Google, other than that it's the latest in quantum computing. It has more qubits in the smaller area than any predecessor, the next big leap. Quantum computing is definitely a fascinating area of research that is certainly going to change the way we experience life as humans. Dear Michelle, you can teach me how to solve a 4x4 Rubik's Cube. That's awesome. I love that. Dear Koshi Dops, you ask, how can I be so chill with all the things going on in the world right now? Because that's all I can be. There are some things that are out of our control, but what is within our control is being chill. Isn't it so? There are things outside of our control, but being chill is not one of those things. Hello, dear Cece. Jaya Shakti Maha. Oh, I'm happy to hear that hardware is your thing, dear Greg RG. It's nice to see you too, Rainbow Mom. Did you miss the reading, Riri? No, we have yet to read. We'll do that momentarily. Hello, Shrimp. Welcome to our Sangha. Hello, Lena. Hello, Haley. Your mind has expanded. I'm happy to hear that. Jai Shri Ramakrishna, dear Snow Tigers. Jai Maha. Om Namah Shivaya. Hello. Many blessings, dear Smoky Rat. You're going to try to fast tomorrow, Tattvamasi. Not Nirjala, but Nirahara. Yes. Get your water, get your jalam. Very Wyatt, you ask, did I think I was beautiful before? Before what? Greg RG, you share more about the quantum computing chip. The Majorana one is all about the physics of how they created a superconductive surface. Oh, cool. Yeah, superconductors, those are also a big part in new technology. It's cool that they're coming together. So many of the big technologies and the next generation are finding a way to come together as one harmonious technology. Snow Tigers, you ask, has science gone too far? Wasn't that the point? To push us out of our comfort zone into new horizons. I think it's pretty good at that. Are we going to enter an irreparable timeline? I have faith. Could we probably slow down in terms of all of this fast-paced technological growth? Probably. I think there's a balance to be had. Hello, dear Jacqueline. I like that I am Princess Mom. When we can remain chill, it sends the vibration of love to heal the collective. That's beautiful. Good evening, Adonis. Hello, dear Frill. I don't think I understand your question, dear Barry Wyatt. But all I can say is that we are all on a path to discover our own beauty reflected in others. And one can only hope that we all learn to see beauty as it unfolds on a timeline that's unique to everyone. Dear Brenda, you're wondering what language was I speaking? When someone sends a gift, I like to return with a Sanskrit prayer. Like John Simon, thank you for your rose. Om Haum Jum Sa Om Bhur Bhuvaswa Turyambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushdivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Om Swaha Bhuha Bhuhu Om Saha Jom Haum Om. That's the cucumber mantra. It's not actually called that. It's called the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra, the great death defeating mantra. It means salutations to the three-eyed one, whose fame is fragrant, the increaser of nourishment. May you, like a cucumber from its stalk, sever us from death, but not from deathlessness. Hello, dear MJ. Does anything harsh my mellow? That's a good question. As opposed to marshmallows. Harshmallows. When you stick them in the fire for too long, they get burnt. They become a harshmallow. There are some things in life, my personal life, I'm processing right now, but none of it takes me away from being grateful to be here with you. I find this space to be very healing, for myself included. And I'm happy you are here. Namaste, dear Miananda. Dear Frill, you're wondering what do I do here? Well, I try to be a humble host, and if I'm not, you can hold me accountable to that, to the Sangha, where we read from spiritual books, we explore some questions pertaining to spirituality, personal growth, consciousness, happiness, religion, all of those light things. We can make them lighter. I don't claim to know the answers to anything, but I'd be happy to explore together with you as a fellow student. And at the end, we'll be doing a meditation. Hello, dear Lucas. I am well. Thank you. Nagato El Gato. You ask, will super intelligent AI be chill? Absolutely. And you know why? Because it takes a high-level intelligence to be chill. chilledness is highly correlated with intelligence. The most intelligent people are also the chillest, right? People like Einstein, yes, he had a great deal of understanding of abstract theoretical concepts in physics and mathematics, but he also wrote a great deal about love and empathy and kindness. A lot of the great philosophers, physicists, scientists, they had a passion for their respective study, but almost always with humanitarianism or compassion or spirituality also. And I think we'll find that correlated with all forms of intelligence, whether it comes from a human being or a computational being. It's still the same universe awakened to itself. Dear Cosmic Flute, you're wondering if I could explain RTA. Could you remind me what that stands for? I forget. Real-time analysis? No, I don't know. Yes, this is live, dear Grass Fairy, although I try to go through the messages one by one so everyone feels acknowledged. Ironically, that might make you feel not acknowledged if I'm a few minutes in the past going through the messages, but I'll try to go faster. My apologies. Hello, Datejun. Good evening, Elle. Hello, Gio Michelle. Brenda, you're wondering how I'm so well spoken. Well, thank you. I feel like I could always be phrasing things in a better way. I've come a long way. I used to have a speech impediment when I was young. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I want to convey myself and how to properly express my ideas in a way that's clear and concise. Hello, Beak the Grey. Dear Frail, you ask, do I see life as a biological dream? I think there's truth in that perspective. Yeah. Brenda, you ask, where did I study prayer in Sanskrit? I like to watch videos. Sanskrit is the language of liturgy in India. So if you spend a lot of time, like I do, listening to satsangs, spiritual discourses by the saints and teachers of India, you'll naturally pick up on the Sanskrit vocabulary, which just can't properly be translated into English. You like the Triambaka mantra, dear Iron Princess Mom. It is one of my favorites. And thank you, dear Greg. That's very kind of you to say. Dear Brenda, you ask, whom is my higher power? Well, ultimately, it's the same higher power within all of us. But I understand that that comes to many people in different ways. And I respect and value all traditions. My higher power goes by the name of love. Hello, Akat. Thank you, dear Zen. Much love, dear Frail. Jai Kali Shakti Dev. Hello, Brandy. Snow Tigers, you ask, what do I think of the USA? I know they're going through a lot right now, as many countries are. But being their neighbor in Canada, I wish lots of peace and healing for everyone down there. And I trust in the goodwill of the people. You like my mane, dear Jus? I'm happy what I said earlier resonated with you, dear Nagato, Alligato. Where's Tin Man and Scarecrow? I did recently watch the prequel to The Wizard of Oz, Wicked. I really liked that movie. I thought that was very magical. Solomon, you ask, what do I think? It's a good question. What do I think? Depends what we're thinking about. Dear Ether Flower, you ask, how do you stay so disciplined in your journey? Forgiveness. Self-forgiveness. That whenever you get back down, you forgive yourself so you can get back up. I think what makes it hard for us to be consistent is, well, when we're hard on ourselves. I believe in going easy on yourself. That if you bit off more than you could chew and you needed to take a day or a week or whatever off, maybe even a year or more for your spiritual practice, that's okay. You've got plenty of time. You've got eternity. Love and trust yourself. Nice to see you, dear hand fingers. Oh, there's some gifts that I haven't acknowledged. Thank you, Gina, for the rose, the ice cream cone, and the heart me you sent. Om Som Suryaya Namah. And Isabella, thank you for another rosa. Radhe, Radhe. MJ, thank you for the octet of finger hearts. And an octet of tiny tinies. Yippee! And dear Brandy, thank you for your heart, me and Rose. Om Bharam Bhairvaya Namo Namah. And thank you, Jackie, for your friendship necklace. Radhe Krishna. I'd love to begin our Shravana by reading from another section of the journey home. This will be our listening portion, then we can return to Q&A. But MJ, you had asked, what do I think happens to our consciousness when our body dies? Well, our body dies. That's what happens to our consciousness. To our consciousness, our body dies. But that says nothing about the death of consciousness. For consciousness to die, that would mean it's a part of the body. That would mean it's a part of the things that come and go to consciousness. But the very nature of consciousness, as we know it, is that it is the subject of change. Change of the body, change of the mind, change of everything that's part of material existence. That necessarily categorizes consciousness as something distinct from everything that changes. And so you can rest assured, according to this knowledge, that when the body comes and goes, the eternal witness that is the consciousness continues to shine unimpeded. Good evening, dear Anasak. And thank you for your heartbeat. Om Brahm Hanumate Namah. Dear Mirna, you're wondering what time have I started the live today? I started the live quite late today, about half an hour ago. That's about 8 p.m. Pacific time. Dear Grandma Jouse, you ask, what time do I meditate? Right now. No, we'll be doing a meditation at the end of our live stream. Maybe in an hour or so. Let's continue where we left off reading in the journey home. Today we begin the 3rd chapter of the 3rd act. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. I bade farewell to the haven of peace at Miklad Ganja. I would never forget the joy and kindness I received there, but I felt driven to experience more of the holy places of India, to expose myself to even more practices and traditions, in hopes that my destiny would indeed reveal itself. From Pathankot, I took the train south to the state of Haryana, disembarking into Kurukshetra, the place where the Bhagavad Gita was first spoken, and one of the holiest places in India. As I left the station, lugging my bag of spiritual books, I could hear from a nearby temple the Sanskrit verses of the Bhagavad Gita being recited through a crackling speaker. Here, I immersed myself in reading the words Krishna spoke to his disciple Arjuna, who was about to shrink from his calling in the face of insurmountable obstacles. The Gita had been spoken on a battlefield because life itself is a battle, where evil perpetually attacks good and our sacred ideals are destined to be tested. We would all be confronted by grave dangers and fearsome demons within and without. There was much to be gained from facing these aggressors with integrity and faith. Krishna's timeless call culminated in the practice of selfless devotion, determination, and spiritual absorption as the means to access power beyond our own to overcome all fear. The power of God's love. In that sanctified place, the Bhagavad Gita's message penetrated me so deeply that I felt as if Krishna was personally speaking to me on each page. I read several chapters every day, poring over my little Gita press copy of the Bhagavad Gita, which was printed on cheap paper and bound in a white cardboard cover. I had read many spiritual texts in my travels, but none struck me as so highly practical. Reading the Bhagavad Gita under the very banyan tree where Krishna originally spoke to Arjuna, I was struck by how powerfully it revealed the science of self-realization beyond sectarian or historical boundaries. It elucidated such intricacies as how the soul is related to God, how that changeless soul is affected by material nature, how karma, the natural law of action and reaction, affects all of us, and how the imperceptible influence of time acts on creation. As a lonesome wanderer seeking truth, where danger, temptation, and fear could pounce on me at any moment, the Bhagavad Gita became my handbook on how to live. After a few days, I left Haryana, and while I was traveling on a train winding through the Indian plains, we stopped for some time at a station. There I witnessed an ugly event. I saw a teenager being slandered and beaten by his employer on the platform. The teenager neither raised a finger nor said a word and was quickly dragged away. I asked a nearby college student what was happening. Shaking his head, he replied, "Because he was born in a lower caste. He's like a slave. Likely he will not be given opportunities for a proper education or to marry anyone outside his suppressed caste, and he will work slave labor for life." I know, I'm from a similar background, but I'm lucky. The government is fighting against these injustices, and most educated, cultured, or socially minded people are battling against it as well, but it is still quite deeply ingrained in the minds of many. He explained to me that this caste system was actually a gross perversion of an ancient scriptural teaching, the Vedic Varnashram, which teaches that just as the human body has a head, arms, belly, and legs, and each limb is meant to perform its function for the benefit of the whole body, in the social body, one is taught to accept responsibilities for the social and spiritual benefit of oneself as well as everyone in society, according to one's natural inclinations and skills. The Vedic Varnashram was meant to encourage, empower, and unify everyone. However, he concluded, this concoction of caste by birth and exploitation of the lower castes has corrupted a beautiful system. My thoughts traveled back to the suppression of racial and religious minorities in America and Europe. I reflected sadly on how the tendency to cultivate superiority and exploit others takes many guises, expressing itself in society, politics, philosophy, or even religion. It was becoming increasingly clear to me that I needed to follow a particular path if I wanted to truly know God, but I worried that such a choice could lead to narrow-mindedness. Attracted as I was to one of the most important religions in India, it heartened me that nothing in the true Hindu philosophy supported suppression of human beings on the basis of one's race, caste, sex, or birth, and that among saintly people I had not witnessed any of this kind of prejudice. In the beautiful Kulu Valley, in the state of Himachal Pradesh, I wandered through miles of pristine nature. I felt so close to God in natural settings. 2 days before, upon seeing a single photo poster plastered on a railway station wall, I jumped on a truck to Kulu. One day, while drinking in the fresh pine scent of the Himalayan air, I came upon a traveler from Colorado whom I had met previously in Iran. Back then, he had been on his way to India to study Tibetan Buddhism. "How has your quest gone?" I inquired. Entering into a trance-like state, his eyes rolled upward. "God has incarnated." His eyelids fluttered and voice quivered. I was blinded by the divine light by the mere touch of his finger. Rushes of ecstasy thrilled my limbs. Divine music filled my ears. I smelled ambrosia and tasted nectar. "You must go immediately. The Lord of the universe has descended to the earth." Like a doctor giving medicine to a dying patient, he insisted, "The culmination of your long journey to India is waiting in Hardwar. Go now, brother. Do not delay. The Supreme Lord will soon travel abroad." Intrigued, I journeyed south to the ashram in Hardwar. Entering the temple, I was puzzled by a large photo on an altar. It was the young guru, wearing a crown and peacock feather. playing a flute and standing in the pose of Krishna. But he looked very different from the painting of Krishna I had purchased in Delhi. As my friend from Colorado had done, his disciples approached me and swooned. The merciful Lord has come in the past as Rama and Krishna. Now he has come again. When Guru Maharaji bestows the knowledge, quote unquote, he opens your divine eye and you will know him as the Lord of the universe. As Guru Maharaji would soon be leaving for his first trip abroad, his disciples hurried me onto a bus to New Delhi. Back in New Delhi, hundreds of Guru Maharaji's disciples crowded the ashram grounds, waiting to get a glimpse of him. I sat in a corner and watched. An elderly disciple struck up a conversation with me and then introduced me to a group of Mahatmas, a title for those empowered to bestow Guru Maharaji's quote-unquote knowledge. The Mahatmas decided that I must meet Shri Mataji, the Holy Mother of their Lord. She sat on a cushion surrounded by admirers who whisked her with yak tail fans and listened to her every word. To my surprise, she decided that I must have a private audience with her son before he departed, so a Mahatma escorted me to his room. Guru Maharaji was a boy of only 13 years old, slightly pudgy with hair neatly parted on the side. He introduced himself as Prem Rawat and explained that he was the successor of his father, Shri Hansji Maharaja. From amid the bustle of disciples, Guru Maharaji brought me to a rooftop for a private meeting. There, away from the crowd, we paced together back and forth while he asked many questions about my life and described his forthcoming trip, his first abroad. When he asked if I desired to take initiation into the quote-unquote knowledge, I explained to him, as I had to previous teachers, that I was careful about making such a commitment. As we conversed on the rooftop, the crowds below anxiously awaited him. Just then a Mahatma poked his head onto the roof and announced that the time had come to leave for the airport. Guru Maharaji quickened his step. "I must go. If you ever decide to receive the knowledge," he said, "you may come to me personally, in India, America, or London." With thousands looking on, we came down the stairs. I stepped to the sidelines as Guru Maharaji, with much fanfare, blessed his flock and departed by car. Watching from the background, I was grateful for his attention and believed he could be an accomplished yogi, perhaps from a past life. But when I looked inside myself, there was no inclination to accept him as Krishna, the Supreme Lord of the universe. Who God is, I thought, is a serious subject, not to be taken lightly. During the course of my travels, I had become quite attached to the spiritual books I carried. I had gradually gathered a small library in a cloth bag. Except for this heavy bag of books, my only possession was a begging bowl and a branch used as a walking stick. Many times I considered reducing the weight of this burden, but every time I looked through the books, trying to decide which ones to give away, I found I could not part with a single one. Among them were the Bhagavad Gita, Bible, Upanishads, Autobiography of a Yogi, books on Buddhism, one by Shankaracharya, and the Krishna book personally given by Srila Prabhupada. Because each one was special to me, and I worried I might never find it again, I lugged this bag of books wherever I went, often exhausted from the load. Now, near Connaught Circus in New Delhi, I set the books down on a street corner. Auto rickshaws zoomed by, spewing trails of black diesel smoke. Cars jammed the street, each trying to squeeze ahead of the other. Bicycle, rickshaws, handcarts, and ox-driven bullocks moseyed by, while battered trucks blared their horns and blasted out clouds of carbon monoxide. Amid it all, I waited for the traffic light to turn green. Suddenly, a man stormed at me, grabbed the back of my neck with a vice grip, and stuck a metal stick into the hole of my ear. He gouged me deeply, scratching away painfully. I shivered. Who is this man? What was he doing? Would he puncture my eardrum? He kept gouging, and I was totally under his control, afraid to move. Next, he released my neck, yanked the metal out from my ear, and held it up for me to see. Attached to his stick was a big lump of earwax. I was delighted, as I could hear better than I had in years, at least in one ear, but I had nothing. He bargained, but to no avail, leaving me with a dirty ear. I couldn't believe it. I had no idea how filthy my ear had been until I felt what it was like to have it clean, especially compared to the other one. With a rueful smile, I drew a parallel to the spiritual journey. Perhaps, I thought, the dirty wax of egotism accumulated in the heart prevents us from clearly hearing the Lord's voice within. A guru with the stick of knowledge cleans our hearts. It's really ugly to see what may come out, but by following patiently, we keep cleaning. Another lesson I took from this experience was this. Sometimes the Lord gives us a free sample of religious experience, but for more we must pay a price with the currency of sincere dedication to the process of cleansing. My hearing was now like an unbalanced stereo system. I knew I had cleansing still to do, and on many levels I waited on the street corner until the traffic light turned green. But when I reached down to lift my bag of books, it was gone. I was frantic. I searched the 4 directions, running here and there, asking everybody around, but to no avail. I had to come to grips with the reality that my books had been stolen. Standing on that corner, I lamented. These precious books enlightened me with knowledge and inspiration. They were an irreplaceable treasure in my life. I received them from the benevolent hands of my teachers. My precious wealth had been ripped away. Terribly sad, hopeless of their recovery, I walked away. After taking a few steps, I had become aware of how easy it had become to walk. The heavy burden that had troubled me for so long, the bag of books, was gone. Just as suddenly as I had felt despair, I felt liberated. Almost skipping, I again reflected. The nature of the mind is to interpret non-essentials essential. The mind creates artificial needs, believing it cannot live without them. In this way, we carry a great burden of attachments throughout our life. Attachment is itself a great burden on our minds. We may never understand the extent of the burden till, like my books or the earwax, we're free of it. But if we find joy within, we can live a simple life, free of endless complications. I had begun to develop an attachment to finding the right path and teacher by my own will. Paradoxically, I now understood that in order to truly find what I was seeking, I needed to be detached and sincere. Whatever obstacles I was to encounter along the way would serve, I hoped, to bring me to ultimate freedom. Thank you very much, my dear listeners. We have come to the end of the 3rd chapter of the 3rd act. We shall continue our journey next time with the 4th chapter of the 3rd act. I invite any insights or reflections that you may have. Namaste. that concludes our reading section of our Sangha, the Shravana. We can transition now to Manana, which is dedicated to Q&A. And we can explore whatever is on our hearts and minds. And I welcome those who joined while we were reading. Thank you to those who sent a gift whilst we read. Oh, my apologies for assuming that I received any. I think I was caught up on all my... Oh, there. Thank you, Anazek. Thank you for your trio of friendship necklaces. Om Kring Kali Kai Namah. Never expected, but always appreciated. And Tattvamasi, thank you for your trio of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Manana. Do 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 do. Have a good night, dear Anasag. Oh, and thank you, dear Gina, for your ice cream cone. Om Kamlir Maha Kali Kai Namah. I'm wondering how you're all feeling in this moment. If you want to share. You're feeling blissful, Isabella. I'm happy to hear that. Tattvamasi, you share when appropriate. Could I please talk about the intellect, the ego, and the mind one time more? Absolutely. Yeah. Good evening, dear Strawberry Star Bunny. You're feeling peaceful and grounded. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, we can explore these inner senses again. Oh, I'm happy you're happy, dear Gina. Let me bring up our blackboard again. Oh, that's my question of the day. You got a sneak peek of that. We'll have a question of the day soon. But let me bring up the blackboard. I'll lower myself so you can see me. Hello, dear Zach. Anna Zach, you sent a comment while I was reading that your battery is almost empty and you're not at home. I see. Well, I wish you the best journey home. Make sure you rest both yourself and your phone. So, the question was if we could talk more about the mind, the intellect, and the ego. These are 3 of 4 inner faculties. Known in Sanskrit as the Antahkaranas. Which means inner faculties. They have a relationship to each other. I think in everyday language, we tend to just talk about our mind. But we can go much more detailed than that. We can break up the mind into 4 different components, and that's what the ancient seers and yogis of India did. when they analyzed themselves, they found that indeed there was a thinking faculty, which is the mind, called in Sanskrit as the Manas. We're all terribly familiar with this. But there's something higher than that, because if you notice, even when your mind is feeling agitated, there's a higher part of your inner faculties that can still remain steady. And that is your discrimination faculty. Discrimination. Which is translated as your intellect. And in Sanskrit it's buddhi. That's the part of you that can still rationalize, still make executive decisions, even if your mind is fully anxious. And I'm kind of running out of room here, aren't I? For the other two. There. Squish it to the side. That's your discernment. Yeah. But there's something even higher than that. Sometimes your own discrimination can be challenged and you genuinely don't know what to do. But there's a part of you that still remains firm and resolved. That's your identity faculty. Identity faculty. That's your sense of self. Some people translate it to ego, but I think that word has a lot of other connotations. In Sanskrit, that's the ahankara. Even with your mind possibly chaotic, your intellect unsure of what to do, you can still have a strong sense of self that remains steady. And then higher than that, this is a very interesting one. This is your impression faculty. Sometimes called your memory, or in Sanskrit, chitta. And it's the subtlest part of our lower self. All of this is part of our lower self. Even grosser than this would be our physical body and its physical organs. And in between would be our senses. The only thing higher than this would just be you as consciousness. And so the first dissension of consciousness is the chitta. It's like the memory foam of consciousness. It's all the impressions you've had. Even if your mind is unsteady, your intellect confused, your sense of self challenged, your impressions of life may be still there. solid as far as they can be. Ultimately, they are always changing. All of these things are changing. The relationship is that they form a hierarchy, not in terms of one being better than the other, but in terms of what influences what. Your impressions influence your identity. Your identity influences your discrimination, and your discrimination influences your thinking. This is helpful if you're feeling challenged on any of these levels. You go one step higher. That if you feel challenged in your mind, rise to the level of the intellect and assert proper discrimination. If you're having difficulty discriminating, rise to the level of your sense of self. Find your foundational identity. And if you're having challenges with feeling stable in your sense of self, rise to your memory. Explore your past experiences. What does that lead you to realize? Tattvamasi, you ask if samskaras and chitta are similar, or are samskaras a subset of chitta? Just like the mind is made up of thoughts, the mind is just a collection of all thoughts. Manas is made up of vrittis. The component, the building block of chitta is indeed the samskaras. That your memory is just the sum total of all impressions. Now I'd be happy to explore that further. If anyone has any explorations they want to pursue, please let me know. Dear Vivian, thank you for the paper crane that you sent. That's very kind. Om Som Somaya Namah. Salutations to the nectar of moonlight. Tan Hao Yu, thank you for your heart mate. Om Dum Durgai Namah. And Nyanjala Pak, thank you for your heart me and hearts. Om Mani Padme Hum. And thank you Tattvamasi for your trio of roses. Hare Krishna. How do you rise higher to the fifth? Good question. That's where Ramana Maharshi's Atma Vicharya would come in. Self-inquired. But you are already the fifth. So nothing needs to happen on that level. What is each composed of, asks Gregorji. So our chitta is composed of samskaras. Yes. Our ahankara is composed of sangha, of association. Our buddhi is composed of vidya, knowledge. And our manas is composed of vritti, thought. In English, the building block of our mind is thoughts. The building block of our intellect is knowledge. The building block of our sense of self is association. And the building block of our memories are impressions. Hello, dear Amanda. Also known as Anandi Niyaraja. Hello, dear Stevie G. No need to fear, Stevie G is here. Good night, dear Neon Jello Pack. Anandi, you ask, what is truth? What is illusion? What is the path to the self? Truth is all there is. Illusion is all there isn't. And the path to the self is between illusion to truth. Tatomasi, you ask, do thoughts feed into buddhi, and buddhi into ahankara, and so on? Generally, the relationship is one way, in that the mind does not have dominion over the intellect, and the intellect does not have dominion over the sense of self, nor does the sense of self have dominion over the impressions. However, it is a little more nuanced than that, because we can gain knowledge from our own thoughts, which would affect the buddhi. Our thoughts can also be things we can choose to associate with the ahankara, and so our sense of self can be influenced that way. And our very own thoughts can carve out impressions, samskaras, and affect our chitta that way. But that is not the doing of the mind, for example. That is the doing of those higher faculties that they choose to be. They choose to use their own faculties on the mind. I do have a little different lighting today, dear Stevie G, as I've had to reset up the live streaming setup. Dear Bear, you ask about the third eye. Is this the way forward? The chakra system can be very helpful. In simplicity, the third eye represents our ability to perceive the truth. And what is that truth? The truth that we are not bodies and minds, but spirit souls, and that spirit soul is the same in you and me. So when we're looking with our third eye, we don't just see different beings, we see the same being that we're all a part of. You may call that the universe, you may call that the divine, whatever you want to call it. We are one at that level. And so to open it means to engage in practices that help you see things that way. Hello, dear Kelly. I am doing well at this moment, thank you. How are you? Did you hear a snake sound on the beat, Greg RG? I wasn't paying close enough attention. Maybe a rattle, like a rattlesnake. I'll listen more closely. Dear Riri, you ask, what are people on about with the pineal gland? Is it another way of viewing the third eye chakra? I know what you're referring to. Many people do make the association between our third eye and a very mysterious region of our brain called the pineal gland. There may be some truth to our symbolic placements of our chakras with our nervous system. However, in scripture it is clear that the chakras are not physical in nature, but are part of the subtle body in the three-body system. Maybe I can quickly draw this. This is a nice simple model that also comes from ancient Indian philosophy. It's called the Wikipedia page is called the Three-Body Doctrine. But I don't know where they get the word doctrine from. It's probably better translated to model. But it asserts that there's three different layers to our experience. There's the physical, there's the subtle, and then there's the causal. Oh, I just realized I spelled subtle without a B. Oopsies. And the chakras would be a part of the subtle body. This is not to scale. The physical includes all of our atoms. It includes all of our organs, all of our cells. The subtle includes our mind and emotions and all of the antahkaranas that we were exploring. It includes our prana, our vital breath. It includes all of those subtle things which can't be described as physical. And then the causal is the seeds of all of our impressions. There really isn't much to say about the causal because it's so damn subtle that there isn't much to describe about it. Thank you, Isabella, for your tiny Dear Eira, thank you for your subscription. Kali Maha Kali Kali Ke Parameshwari Sarvananda Kare Devi Narayani Namostute. Up the freeway, thank you for your heart, me. Khang Jahnavyay Namah. Oren, thank you for your heart, me too. Vastudevataya Namah. Oren, I appreciate you. Marmander, thank you for your heart, me, and cheer you up. Namo Maya Shaktai. If I were to make an association, Stevie G, you share that some say the pineal gland is connected to the crown, and some say the third eye. Which is it? I would say it's actually neither, but a lesser known chakra that's actually in between the third eye and the crown, which probably explains the confusion. If you'll just give me 1 second, I'll show you a book that talks about that. So, according to this yogi, Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda, in his book, The Hidden Power of Humans, Chakras and Kundalini, we should really be thinking about the chakra system, not just with 7 main chakras, but 8, as there's a lesser known 8th one in between the third eye and the crown. And that's known as the Bindu Chakra. The Bindu Chakra. And indeed, it is said to be located where the pineal gland is. When one practices the mudra of Kechari, one stretches their tongue and frenulum to be able to reach back into their nasopharynx, and they press up against the very top of your nasal cavity, which is just below your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and pineal gland. And it is said that from the Bindu Chakra drops the nectar of immortality that you catch with your tongue. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your team cheers. Om Yogeshwaraya Namah. Dear Riri, you ask, why view the physical and subtle as 2 things? Good question. Because when we are looking through a physical lens, that can be very helpful, but not particularly helpful when there are things that aren't physical. For example, the scientific method is really good at describing the physical world, but science has not quite caught up to understand exactly how emotions work, the nature of memory, the nature of thoughts and feelings. And the yogi said, that's for a reason, because we cannot use primarily physical means to study things that exist on top of the physical. And that's the nature of our inner world, is that it's on a different dimension than the physical. So we have to use different techniques to explore them. It's the same reason, or a similar reason, why we have a different field for studying the weather as for studying the stock market. Even though the stock market and weather share a lot of commonalities and ultimately are part of the same reality, the exact mechanisms of the stock market function very differently than the exact mechanisms of the weather. And so you need a different frame of reference to study either, but they're both part of the same reality. Thank you, dear Oren, for your team bracelet. Om Bhuteshwaraya Namah. Mermander, you're wondering if I could talk about trapped emotion in the body and how to release it. This is a perspective that I know a lot of people describe about feeling trapped emotions. Maybe I'm really unique in that I've never felt my emotions trapped. Or maybe I do experience the same sensation as others, but I look at it in a different way. I think when some people feel that they have blocked emotions, what they're describing is an inability to process something that they're feeling. Whenever I feel like I've got something really heavy to process, I just allow myself time to process it. I think the term blockage can incite even more feelings like there's something wrong with our system when it's functioning perfectly fine. We just need some time and acceptance to allow our feelings to flow naturally. I hear my phone alarm going off. So perhaps you could tell me more about what that means to you to have blocked emotions, as I'm unfamiliar with that vocabulary personally. Dear Anandi, you ask, how can the self, having forgotten itself, return to its true nature? It is already at its true nature. In fact, that is all one has to remember. The spiritual journey is not to change the nature of your true self, but to realize its eternal nature, the way it has always been. My day has been eventful and humbling, dear Wesley, and I'm grateful for it. Riri, you ask, are all the three bodies made of the Divine Feminine? Yes. Anytime you have a body means it's come into form, and form is the nature of Prakriti, the Divine Feminine. Tattvamasi, you ask, are the nadis, Ida, Pingala, Sushumna part of the subtle body too? Yes. Yes, they are. Indeed. Thank you, Wesley. Ananda, you ask, if the self, shedding its own forgetfulness, walks the path, then what is the true experience of being? A beautiful question. Exactly what you're experiencing right now. Nothing to change. Everything unfolding perfectly as it is. Ramandra, you want me to hold it up again? I assume you're talking about the diagram of the Bindu Chakra. There it is. And if you're interested to learn more about it, we've gone through everything in this book before, and the whole playlist is on my YouTube channel, Yamsox Lives. And that's the hidden power in humans. Chakras and Kundalini. Dear Not Sure, you ask, why do I believe in soul? You thought we are just walking brains. I thought so too for a long time. It seems to be the scientific understanding that in the beginning there was the universe, and then from the universe arose biological life, created these sense faculties, eyes, ears, mouth, nose, tongue, skin. All of that feeds into the nervous system, brain, where mind is generated. And then from that mind arises a consciousness. This is the scientific view. And it's completely valid. It is based on objective reality. I call it the outside-in perspective, because it's the perspective that we get by looking from the perspective of material existence, which is happening to us outside of our own consciousness. The spiritual perspective isn't in disagreement of that. It just shifts the perspective on its head. I call it the inside-out perspective, which is the perspective that we see from the inside out. From our perspective, if you really think about what you've experienced personally, you didn't experience a universe before you were born. You didn't experience a world outside of your senses. You haven't experienced senses outside of your mind, nor mind outside of your consciousness. So from your perspective, in the beginning was consciousness. And then from your consciousness arose a mind. And then from your mind arose the senses. And from the senses arose the body. And then before the body you have the world to experience. It's the same structure, but now seen from your perspective. And that originator of that perspective, the consciousness with a capital C, that is the soul. When you hear scripture describing soul, I think today we often imagine, like a ghost that inhabits the body and then whoo, it leaves when the body dies. But the word consciousness is so precise. It means exactly the same thing as it originally did. Just the essence of what's experiencing this life. That's the soul, that's the consciousness, that's the awareness. So the question of why do you believe in the soul, if we understand the soul simply to just mean the consciousness, the awareness, then it's not even a matter of belief, it's just a matter of understanding what it is, and it's a part of our experience, perhaps the most fundamental part of our experience, from which all other experiences derive. I wish the same thing for you, dear Ahmed. And thank you, Marmander, for your quintet of tiny tinies. Luca. If it's a hard C or a soft C, Lusa, I believe it's Luca. Thank you for your heart thing. You can let me know. Om Namah Parashaktaye. And John Tyler, thank you for your quintet of roses. Om Aram Brahmane Namah. You like the music, Stevie G? We're listening to relaxing flute music from Buddha's Flute YouTube channel. Namaste, dear Autumn. Hello, Dalen. I'm doing well. Thank you. Happy to have you here, Ahmed. Oren, you weren't able to find the squirrel video on my YouTube. I'm sorry to hear that, dear Oren. Maybe I can find it to you now. Find it for you now. Oh, that's funny. Here, I'll show you my screen. If you search up Squirrels of Rama, BAPS, which is the organization, I guess I'm the first to pop up, but maybe that's because Chrome knows it's me. But that's my recording of it here. But it's the second one that we watched together. It's called The Sea of Squirrels, Island of Heroes, London, UK. If you want to screenshot it, there's your chance. You can find this video. And I hope you continue to find joy in that meditation. Dear Ahmed, you share when I'm done you want to talk to me for a bit. Is that possible? Well, my inboxes are always open. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp, or even email. Anandi, you ask another beautiful question. If love is meant to feel freeing, why do I feel trapped within it? We are a slave to love. But that doesn't mean that our own enslavement to love isn't liberating. Love frees the soul, but it traps the mind consensually. Dear Riri, you share the chemical process themselves as the soul. It can be both and none and everything. The chemical process is part of the physical. But to what is the chemical process occurring? To whom does the chemicals react for? Everything that happens through some action, through some reaction, that's all part of the experience. But what is the experiencer that experiences these things? Happy Maha Shivaratri, dear John Tyler. Zia, you're glad to see my computer working and not in flames. Me too, it's been going well so far. Dear Jaden, you ask, how do you... Oh, sorry, my chat just scrolled away from you. Let me scroll all the way back up for you. Where'd you go? Oh, I see I've missed some questions. I'm glad this happened. Mermander, you had explained that for you, blocked emotions feels like there's a stone somewhere in the body that you can't find and you can't name. Interesting. I'd have to search my experience to feel like if that's also something that I resonate with. But perhaps that's exactly it. It's the feeling of searching for something that may or may not be there. You are whole. You don't have to put a name to your feelings. If this situation for you of blocked emotions makes you feel like there's something you're not doing that you need to, I would pray for you to relieve yourself from that responsibility. You are perfect as you are, whether or not you can place a name or reason on your feelings or not. That is strange, dear Stephen. Riri, you had asked, when we die, do we leave the causal body behind? No, in fact, that's exactly what comes with us. Ahmed, you asked where I'm from. I am from Canada. Alright. Back to Jaden, thank you for your patience. How do you get through all of life's struggles when it's so hard to overcome them? You say it's hard, but yet you're still here, aren't you? And when you look back at the past, you were always meant to survive. No matter how hard it seems in the moment, you will come out the other side. Each experience is not meant to break you down, but build you up. Even if you're feeling a little broken, battered, and bruised, you are still whole. You have been, you always will be. We are eternal love, infinite, ever new. Sometimes we have to bring that love to our bodies and mind too. You're always welcome to ask as many questions as you want, dear Marmander. You share that you're afraid of your ability to cope or live after your parents pass, but you've been blessed with amazing folks. You're scared for that day and every day after. I feel you. My parents are still alive, and I can't honestly speak about what it's like to not have them, because I have yet to experience that too. But every time I think about just what you're thinking about too, I remind myself of how grateful I am to have them now, and that one of the things that I could be worried about is if that time were to come and I didn't spend as much time as I could with them. So the fact that I'm thinking about this thing now gives me a chance to really be with them as much as I can now. And then it becomes a thought of gratitude, a thought of practicality. And also I feel like no matter what we do, it's always going to be hard. So I should at least be easy on myself now. At the same time, I also believe that grieving before something happens can help you grieve after, because grief would be made so much worse if we didn't see it coming. That if we are aware that our time with our loved ones in this form is temporary, then that can help bring the process of acceptance on a lot sooner. But don't feel like you have to figure that all out right now. Just a little bit at a time. You're allowed to not go to the bottom of a thought. When a pressing thought like that arises, you're allowed to think just a little bit about it and go, all right, that's enough for now. Now I'm going to leave it at that. And then you add to your question about love. There may be love, but it's tangled with pain, uncertainty, or a sense of being confined rather than free. I don't know whom the love you are speaking for is being shared with, but whomever they are, be it yourself, the divine, or any other loved one, if there is truly love there, shared between you, then open up a line of dialogue, communication, and trust that you'll hear each other out. Love is courageous in that any obstacle that may come across its path, it deals with head on. Love does not hide from its limitations. It confronts them, works them through. You're questioning if this connection aligns with your true self or it's holding you back. That is something that I trust you to explore, and I can't speak for you. what I can say is that if you persevere and you express your needs, your wants, your boundaries, perhaps you can develop that connection in the dimension that can add to your freedom and liberation. But that is forever your choice. And I hope that your loved one values and respects that, as I would want for you. Dear Zaya, you ask if I have a community group somewhere like Discord or Telegram. Both of those things exactly, actually. And they're both linked as social media icons at the top of the link tree in my bio. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your heart me, friendship necklace and finger heart. Prajapataye. Thank you for your subscription, Luca. Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. Your love will set you free. A beautiful quote, Michelle. And thank you, Ahmed. I'm happy to be there for you. Barry, you ask, how should we confess if we are without concrete within and know why we aren't moving enough? Or after. I think there may be a bit of a language barrier, but if I'm feeling the essence of this question, you're asking, how can we express and seek to continue to understand more how we might not feel secure inside, that a foundation internally in our inner world is not quite there. Well, how to express that exactly the way you have, by being curious, perhaps expressing it in the form of a question. How can we go forward? I think no matter who you are, we all have a core set of values that was always going to be there. Values maybe of getting back up again every time you fall, seeing the good in others, learning something new every day. These little things can be your foundation. They can be your concrete on which you build the scaffolding of your life. Hello, dear Toss Sally. Happy to have you here. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm not being authentic. I don't know who you're referring to, but I'd love to learn from them. If there's someone you look up to, maybe you could tell me something you've learned from them that I could learn as well. Of course, dear Mermander. Am I in Vancouver, asks Ahmed. No, but I live in another place that's named after George Vancouver, and that's Vancouver Island, which is off the coast of Vancouver. As confusing as that may sound, as the city of Vancouver is not on the island of Vancouver, but they're both named after the same explorer. Dear Barry, you ask, if we can't put the respect in and it blocks us, should we stay within our own place? If you are wishing to show your respect to somewhere or someone and you feel like they are closed off from you, then there is not much more we can do other than respecting their time and space. Dear Prime, you inquire about the nature of where I express these thoughts from. I like to learn from many of you, and I'm grateful to constantly be learning from a wide variety of beautiful people, yourself included. I do draw from my experience, and I believe that all of our experiences are valid. And we never have to take the authority of another person's experience as superseding our own. But what we can do is we can listen to the overlap. That if something another person says resonates with something that we've experienced, then that makes us feel a little more affirmed in our experience, and I wish that for you. Much love, dear Mermander. Riri, you share your mom wants you to not dwell on it and to make sure to enjoy life. She'll have had a good run. That's a beautiful affirmation from your parents. Yes, DVG, you can send me a message to read aloud. Sorry that you're having difficulties with TikTok filtering your comments. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for the 19 friendship necklaces you sent. Om Dham Namaschandraya. And Isabella, thank you for your trio finger hearts. Pardon me. Om Namo Vishnave. Why is love the hardest emotion? One of the hardest emotions. When love arises as an emotion, it's so deep. It makes us so vulnerable that we become that much more sensitive to everything. Kyle, you share when you were 10, you wanted to play the guitar so badly. Now, 25 years later, you did it, and you're so bad at it. I appreciate your jokes every time you come here. Thank you. Yes. Best time to start learning guitars 25 years ago. Second best time is now. Dear Nandi, you share, if you are grieving yourself, then what part of you has died? And what part is waiting to be reborn? I like to think that nothing ever truly dies. In fact, not even the body, because it's part of a life that will continue to be recycled in Mother Nature. You are grieving a particular form that life took, and all things do change, and everything is cyclical. Sometimes one form arises and then departs and then arises again, just like spring. The flowers in my mom's garden have already begun to blossom. They're here again. So, were they needing to be grieved for the last time that they fell back into the soil? That is a very unique experience for you, dear Joe. Yeah. I think there's a lot of beautiful work being done when it comes to dementia and how these people can still live a meaningful life even in such challenging years. That a person's worth and the connections with the people around them don't have to be rooted in the past. And there's always going to be this kind of connection that exists there, even if it's so present, especially if it's so present. I think various neurological diseases that affect our ability to remember. I know there's so much more than that to dementia, but especially that part. These are experiences that can teach us how to really be present with people and value who they are in that moment, as well as value their soul and how their soul has always been. That's a beautiful quote too, Hybrid Jen. Love is the only rational act. Are we always growing? Asks Macy. We are always growing. It's just that what is growing changes. What I mean is that sometimes we're growing physically, other times we're growing mentally, another time we're growing in a particular area of knowledge, another time we're growing in our intelligence, at another time we're growing in yet another thing. Everything we bring our attention to, we grow. But our attention is always moving from place to place. Now, did you send a message, dear Stevie G? Let me look on Instagram. You did send a message. You share now. The mind is in the subtle, but Taoism speaks on all being of the mind. So isn't the mind beyond the subtle? And you can speak from experience that the mind is, in a way, all. Yeah, both of those things are true. Because the physical arises out of the subtle. From the mind, we experience the physical world. The physical is an unfolding of the subtle. Good night, dear Nandi. Aham prema asim, aham shanti asim, aham purna asim. And Anandi, you had asked, if love is eternal, then why do you feel abandoned by it? Or have you at some point abandoned it yourself? Such is the dance of love. There are 5 powers of love: the power to create, the power to sustain, the power to destroy, the power to reveal itself, and the power to conceal itself. And it's those last 2 that are especially pertinent. The dance of revealing and concealing itself. My day has been well so far. Thank you for asking, Alyssa. What about you? Ahmed, you were wondering, where do I live in Canada? Well, perhaps I wasn't clear. On Vancouver Island, which is off the western coast of Canada. It's a little southern too, so it's also off the coast of Washington, Seattle. Oh, thank you, Billy. I'm very humbled by what you see in me. You're gonna learn something new every day. I love that, Isabella. I can see your message, TVG. And good evening, the Chaos Pixie. Good morning to you. Hello, Metro Tag. I'm here for you, dear Barry. Hello, Chants. Tejas, you are wondering, what music is playing in the background? The music we're listening to is simply called relaxing flute music from the Buddha's Flute Music channel. Good evening, Taylor. And you ask, how do you deal with people that are always getting under your skin and make you mad? It depends on the situation. If there's some boundary that you need to set with this person, please be empowered to express how they make you feel in a non-judgmental way. Just a genuine, hey, when you do this, this is how it makes me feel. And maybe you can add to that a compromise. Would it be okay if you did this instead? It's often very sobering to hear that. Even if they don't like you, instead of reacting, if you respond from a place of just informing them of how their actions make you feel, sometimes that's enough for them to realize, oh, because a lot of the time, people don't intend on causing such feelings like the ones you may be feeling. And it can surprisingly be enlightening to just share how you're feeling. And you can imagine how it would work the other way around too. That if someone else in your life was feeling like you got under their skin for whatever reason, that if they simply shared how that made them feel, that might inspire honest reflection within yourself. It's worth a shot, at the very least. And if that doesn't work, then I'd recommend distancing. If you can, if you are unable to be centered, pardon me, in their presence, then, and if you don't need to be in the same room with them or the same space, then you are welcome to protect your peace in that way. But higher than all, I'd remember that that's one of the challenges in life. To go through life proactive rather than reactive. To practice techniques that keeps you centered from a place of peace. That you honor and understand where everyone else is coming from, but you don't feel personally offended. Because everyone has their vices, their ignorance, their limitations, and there's only so much we can control about the world. Other people's emotions are generally not going to be one of them. But we can learn to love ourselves and cultivate a kind of self-respect and inner tranquility that keeps us calm wherever we go. We are only human after all. Well said, dear Claire. Thank you, Kay Noel, for the rose that you sent. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are having very deep, exquisite inquiries tonight. Shorihasya Chitrakara. Of course, dear Tejas. You're from Alabama, dear Barry. Hello, Roll. You are still alive and fighting with being left by your partner. It's very empty and you cry a lot, but you think you are moving forward. Nice to see you here again. Thank you for sharing that. I know you're feeling very empty right now, and that's understandable. I think you are moving forward too, and each tear we shed does bring us closer. I'm still here for you. Lanny, you heard this quote. It's their stuff, not yours. It can be applied to a lot of situations, Lanny, yeah, especially with the topic of other people going through things that we end up bearing the weight of. It's their stuff. They're working through it. We've got our own stuff. There's only so much space we can hold. The letter E. You shared that today you went to the beach and cried. It really did help. It's a beautiful place to cry. Let water flow. Hello, dear Myrna. Raven, you share beating a drama addiction is a transformative experience. Have I ever been addicted to drama? I think we all have our own forms of drama. I might not have paid attention to the same drama as everyone else, but drama in the physics community, drama over whether the axiom of choice should be accepted and what that says about the continuum hypothesis, drama over the uncertainty and the cosmological constant. I used to pay attention to that drama. Myrna, you wondering about the question of the day? I haven't asked the question of the day yet. Thank you for asking. This is my question of the day today. Today I ask, what insight from any religion do you find to be universal? Did I do the grammar correct? What insight from any religion do you find to be universal? No, I did not. Let me fix that. The Om symbol has a lot of insight, shares Claire. Yes. Raven, you're glad I weren't raised by two big old drama queens, as it would seem. What a dream. Oh, my parents definitely have their drama. But I am very grateful that they told me many times throughout my life that what they go through individually is not something that I, as their child, have to bear the weight of necessarily. That they always wished for me to be free of that. But they often shared what they were going through, and I got to understand the difficulties that they were processing, and as their child, I'm naturally going to feel for them, hold space for them. But I'm just so grateful, as I said, that they assured me that their problems are not mine to solve. Dear Thoughtful Nug, your answer to our question of the day is that despite all, choose to love. I love that. And that's a big insight too, E. You think sometimes we focus on others to distract ourselves from our problem. Yeah. It's very true. And breathe, shares Claire. Just breathe through life. And Brenda, you share, well, love, of course. Love, echoes Isabella. Compassion and kindness, shares Lani. And E, you share, you think prayer is important. I do find it to be an important part of my mornings. That's when I like to pray. Night times too. Dearest Kelsey, you share that we all deserve connection. Yeah, that's a great insight. Love, shares B. Halen. Interconnectedness, shares Lanny. And so you ask a fascinating question. Is it possible to have ancestors who were liberated? You're basically asking, is it possible to be liberated and continue a bloodline? Absolutely. There have been many enlightened beings that have had children. You don't have to be a monk to deepen your enlightenment. There are benefits to sannyasa, to renunciation, for sure. But there's also a different set of benefits for spiritual practices for householders, and householders can absolutely achieve the same liberation, their moksha. Another answer to our question of the day from Lani is seeking truth and wisdom is a universal insight. Tattvamasi, you share that you, quotes around you, are where the journey begins. Lovely. Hello, Ross. Rose. You can tell me if I can pronounce your name in a preferred way. I like this. Derek, you ask, what did the duck say to the physicist? Quark, quark, quark. I love my elementary particles. No, I haven't heard of the Impossible Love art hybrid gen. You have the painting and now sculpture. Fascinating. I'll have to look into it. May peace be upon you too, dear JJ. Something told you to stop at this little shop and you found it. Shorya Hasya Chitarkar, you share the Tao that we can comprehend is not the eternal and infinite Tao. That's one of my favorites. Or the insight that can be favorited is not the eternal insight. So do I take that back? I don't know. Can the insight that can be taken back be the eternal insight? Anyway. Anandi, you share, the need for mindfulness and presence is an insight you find to be universal. I love that. Dear Rah, you ask, am I Hindu? I don't consider myself associated with any religion, but I do tend to draw primarily from the tapestry of traditions that are amongst the land of Bharat, known by others as India. Seeking authenticity is a universal insight. I love that, Claire. Hello, dear HHHHHHH. It's nice to have you here again. You share that we all deserve to know that we were designed distinctively and for God's divine plan with intrinsic value. It's beautiful. Ananda, you add that religions emphasize being present and aware. Buddhist mindfulness, sati. Christian contemplation. Islamic dhikr, remembrance of God. I love that. You are welcome to guess my age, dear Brenda. Raven, you share, all have a relationship with Christ consciousness, and all people can be holy regardless of religion. I see the truth in that. In Hindu meditation, all stress, deep presence and connection with the moment. Well said, dear Nandi. I like that, Riri. If you seek within, God will speak to you just like Moses in the burning bush. Just don't light your bush on fire in front of your house. You're a big kid and have a job now, along with being a mommy, dear Kelsey. Yes. I'm very happy for you, Kelsey. But it's nice to see you here. As above, so below, shares Ashy Noodle Martin. I like that. Am I 26 earthly years, dear Brenda? No, I'm not that experienced yet. Dear Zaya, you ask, do I ever feel angry when I see spiritual content forms? How should they be responded to? We can ask ourselves, is this a kind of content that I want to absorb, consume? And if it's not for us, then it's not for us. Do we have to be enlightening others over the dangers of consuming any piece of media? You can try, and I've definitely tried that, but I found that it's not my karma to meddle with. People are all divinely guided, and if they are going to a source of spirituality that might not be healthy for them, you can try to offer alternatives. But in general, trying to convince someone that they're going to a wrong source usually doesn't work, unfortunately, because the mind has such a hard time with negatives. Instead, we offer solutions. We say, hey, audience of this particular content source, you know, if you really like the certain spiritual themes that may be present here, because it might not be all unhealthy, There could be some truths there too. Maybe you'd like to learn from this teacher or this source you can offer, and that's the most we can do. But above all, just be a role model and benefit from the places that you feel the most healthy source of connection to. And people will naturally sense that from you and want to know where you get that from too. Thank you, Isabella, for your trio of finger hearts. Back to the question of the day, dear muffins. You share prayer/meditation. I like those. Yes. Gardening Gregarji, you ask, can the insight from any religion be the universal insight? What may be at the center of the Venn diagram is that which is part of the whole. And ye harm none, do what ye will, is a quote Jeff shares from Wiccan Reed. Thank you, Jeff. Finding one, shares Barry. I like that insight. Thank you, Brenda. I look forward to seeing you again. Everyone is welcome to come and go as they please. Michelle, you think a universal insight is the idea of compassion and loving kindness toward all beings. I couldn't agree more, dear Michelle. Dear Kelsey, you share there's a language that doesn't have a word for nature because to name it is to separate from it. Ah, that's so beautiful. I love that idea. We are part of nature. In Tattwamasi, you share a universal insight is to turn inward. Happy Maha Shivaratri, dear Giselle. I'm a little older than 19, dear Brenda. Playing the game of lower, higher. I'll just tell you. Unless you're having fun with this game. He who is not against you is for you. I like that. H. Much love. Adya. The concept of heaven, nirvana, bliss shares muffins. Hello, Sins Chapter Book. You feel a connection with water, dear Brenda. I like that. Derek, you share, I am one, I am all. Who am I trying to convince? I'll admit it can be lonely though. You share, dear Raven, from there's a belief in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that there's no eternal damnation. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I like that insight. That's very beautiful. You like the Venn diagram analogy, Greg Archie? I hope it made sense. Thank you, Zaya. Am I an air sign by chance, dear Claire? I don't know. In the Western astrology, not taking into account the precession of the ecliptic, just what most people go by, I'm a Libra. But if you take into account the precession of the ecliptic, which most people don't do, in sidereal astrology, for example, I am a Virgo, my sun sign. Enzo, you ask, how many observers are there? You can't find any, but you've heard 3 or 4. There is 0, because to count is to enumerate objects. But the observer is not an object, but a subject, and thus it cannot be quantified. Yes, I do miss G. But I trust that she is where she needs to be. Om Namah Shivaya, dear Nish. Gregor-ji, you share a Venn diagram with all religions. Might sort of kind of look like the flower of life structure. It's beautiful, I can imagine. Yeah, all the circles making sacred geometry. Well, thank you everyone for exploring this question of the day together. I was waiting for Mirna's response because she reminded me of it. Maybe it didn't come through. I will add that an insight from any religion that I find to be universal is that we're all seeking. We're all seekers, and that at least while we're on the path, we should seek with kindness and compassion. That even if we don't quite know the answers to life, the universe, and everything, at the very least, let's be kind to each other until we get there. And for those who have gotten there, the realized sages and saints from all traditions, they tell us that kindness only begins at such a destination, either. Either that or 42. Mirna, you tend to get insights from philosophy more than religion. That's understandable. I respect that. Now, it is time to read from another episode of, wait for it, Ruminations. No, I haven't left Canada yet, dear Kelsey. Well, you certainly are an observer, dear Enzo. But what number are you, if any? Thank you, Lerato. Lerato. You can tell me if I can pronounce your name in a way that is preferred. Thank you, Jessica, for the 10 roses you sent. Brahmane Namah. Dear Dob Darker, thank you for your heart me. Vastudevataya Namah. And Robbie, thank you for your finger heart. Here's one for you too. Ain Saraswatyai Namah. Kindness, love, the divine, all essentialities, aren't they, dear Barry? Oh, thank you for your taps, dear Melinda. Happy Maha Shivaratri, dear Mellow Magic. And oh, thank you for your pair of roses too. Om Hrim Namah Shakti Shivaya. And Samara, thank you for a whole galaxy. I never know what to say to such a gift, but I'm humbled by you. Om Namah Karlim Ambita Me Sharing Nadita Me Haring Devita Me Ain Saraswatyai Swaha. Good night, dear Derek. Much love to you. Let's continue where we left off in the Pocket Rumi, shall we? Here we're in the Matnawi still. This poem is called Pure Gold. How will you know your real friends? Pain is as dear to them as life. A friend is like gold. Trouble is like fire. Pure gold delights in the fire. This poem is called The Thief Will Enter. No matter what plans you make, no matter what you acquire, the thief will enter from the unguarded side. Be occupied then with what you really value, and let the thief take something less. And this poem is called The Mysteries. The unsuspecting child first wipes the tablet and then writes the letters on it. God turns the heart into blood and desperate tears, then He writes the spiritual mysteries on it. And one more poem from dear Rumi. This is called The Truth of Things. The porter runs to the heavy load and takes it from others, knowing burdens are the foundation of ease and bitter things are the forerunners of pleasure. See how the porters struggle over the load. It's the way of those who see the truth of things. Thank you for listening to another episode of Ruminations. If you have any insights from the poetry of our Sufi mystic himself, please let me know. Anandi, you're still here. I thought you were getting some sleep. May you have a deep rest whenever you get there. Ah, I see. Well, don't fall asleep in there. Lirato, you ask, what is the music? We're listening to relaxing flute music. Pipe, you know, the pipe ASCII symbol, calmness, the vertical line from Buddha's flute. Thank you, Mela Magic, for another pair of rosas. Om Ham Jum So Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your support, Raven. Hybrid Jen, thank you for your trio of roses. Om Dum Durgaya Namah. Karina, thank you for your heart mate. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Gina, thank you for your pair of roses. Om Gang Ganapataye Namah. Thank you, dear Anandi. So I'd love to turn to our final segment of our Sangha tonight, which is Nididhyasana, and there we shall do a meditation together, if you want. Jackie, you wish there was a gift or a sticker depicting rolling R's. We could make it into a sticker. There's a beautiful symbol of the vocalic R in Sanskrit. Let me go back a scene so I can draw it for you. It's actually one of my favorite looking letters in Devanagari. Bring the blackboard back up again. So, in Sanskrit, the vocalic R looks like this. Isn't that just a lovely shape? I think that's lovely. And it comes in two forms, a short form and a long form. The long form, you just add an extra little hook there. So in theory, going by the pattern so far, a really long rolled R might look like something like this. That's but that doesn't exist actually as a symbol, only that. Right, going back to our Nididhyasana scene. Reminds you of a telephone cord, Don Suela. Yeah, those old coily ones. Indeed. Looks like a fancy logo. It would make a good logo. Thank you, Vinyl Maharaj. Thank you for your rose. Jai Gurudeva Maharaja. That's the one for ruminations, dear Gregorji. Good logo. Happy Maha Shivaratri. Speaking of which, it's time for our Shiva meditation to end our Sangha tonight. At the time of recording, it's a great holiday for devotees of the form of the divine known as Shiva. It's a holiday called Maha Shivaratri. For Shiva, today we'll be doing a form of a Gayatri mantra with his bijas in it as well. It looks like this, rendered in the International Alphabet of Sanskrit transliteration. And I'm going to turn down the background music, just in case I'm not in harmony with it. Ham Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya vidmahe mahadevaya dhimahi tanno rudra prachodayat. I've added some pronunciation tips. For example, the O, Ow, U, A, E. These are all long vowels. In fact, there's so many long vowels in this mantra that it would be perhaps easier to point out the short ones. In general, a vowel, pardon me, is short unless it comes in a couple, like with A, U, forming a diphthong, or it has a line above it, like the U, A, E, or O's and A's. These are long regardless, since Sanskrit differentiates vowel length. You'll also notice an M with a dot under it over these three bijas. Ham, ham, jom. That's called an anuswara. It's a nasalization where you bring the place of resonance into your nasal cavity. The complement of that is this H with a dot under it, which is known as a visarga. You'll find it at the end of sa, as well as rudra. It makes a different sound depending on what sound comes after it. At the end of a line, like in this first one, it's just a mini exhale. You'll hear an echo of the vowel before it. Sa. But in the case of appearing before a voiceless labial plosive, like at the start of prachodayat, it makes a little bit of an F sound. F, f, f. If you bring your lips close together, f, f. So you'll hear Rudra prachodayat. And then finally, in the word Purusha, you'll see there's an S with a dot under it. That is a retroflex, meaning you curl your tongue back to pronounce it. It's a little like the English letter SH, sha, sha, except that sibilant is instead formed, as I said, by curling the tongue back and making a similar sound. Sha, sha, tatpurushaya. What does it mean? Good question, titanium ovaries. So the first line is just sacred sounds to do with Shiva. Om, ham, jom, sa. Tat Purushaya vidmahe. That person we bring our mind to. Mahadevaya dhimahi. The great form of the divine we meditate on. Tanno Rudra prachodayat. May that Rudra, the one who roars existence in and out of being, propel us. And in what direction? Well, in the direction that the sacred sounds at the beginning set up as we loop. Om, ham, jom, sa. We will be chanting on Rudraksha beads, which are said to be associated with Shiva. If only I had any Rudraksha beads to chant on near me. Oh, that's right. There's some around your neck. Allow me to take them from you. Thank you for energizing them for me. This will be how we count 108 repetitions. And the Gayatri mantra is more like a template in which there are different versions of which for different forms of the divine. There's the original Gayatri mantra that appears in the Rig Veda. This one is dedicated specifically for Shiva. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Aum Haum Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi tanno rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatparushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sah Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Ham Jom Sa Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Om Saha Jom Ham Om. Salutations to Shiva. Salutations to Mahadeva. Salutations to Tat Purusha. Salutations to Rudra. To all the forms of the one who is the lap of creation, the oblivion from which this whole universe arises from, persists through, and returns to. Salutations to you, the auspicious one. I'm feeling very tingly after that. I don't know about you. Thank you for meditating with me. Salutations to you. That concludes our meditation, our nididhyasana, and with it our Sangha for today. So thank you very much for participating, everyone. Thank you to those who sent a gift whilst we meditated. Dear Burger, Burger Eater, thank you for your tiny. Yippee! You enjoyed the rhythm of that one, Melinda? Oh, good. The rhythm is called the Gayatri. Water Wind, thank you for your heart me. Sadhyoja tamprapadyami sadhyoja taya vai namo namah. Bhave bhave nati bhave bhavasvam ham bhavod bhavaya namah. Thank you, dear Majesty, for your heart me. Om Vamadevaya Namo Jeshtaya Namah Shreshtaya Namo Rudraya Namah Kalaya Namah Kalevakaranaya Namo Balaya Namo Balevakaranaya Namo Balapramatanaya Namo Manonmanaya. No, wait. Namo sarva bhuta damanaya namo manonmanaya nama. There we go. Salutations to you. Thank you. Moonflower, thank you for your heart me and pair of trio of roses and quintet of roses each. Om aghorebhyo ta ghorebhyo aghore aghora ghore tarebhya sarvatha sarva sarvebhyo namaste rudra rupebhya. Thank you, Usha Priyaji, for your hand hearts. Here's some for you too. Om Ishana Sarva Vidyanam Ishvar Sarva Bhutanam Brahma Dipati Brahmano Dhipatir Brahma Shivo Me Astu Sa Eva Sada Shiva Om. Thank you, Tattvamasi, for your quintet of roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Isabella, thank you for your 17 roses. Om Bhairava Rudraya Maha Rudraya Kala Rudraya Kalpanta Rudraya Veera Rudraya Rudra Rudraya Ghora Rudraya Aghora Rudraya Martanda Rudraya Anda Rudraya Brahmanda Rudraya Chanda Rudraya Prachanda Rudraya Tanda Rudraya Shura Rudraya Veera Rudraya Bhava Rudraya Bhima Rudraya Atala Rudraya Vitala Rudraya Sutala Rudraya Mahatala Rudraya Rasatala Rudraya Talatala Rudraya Patala Rudraya Namo 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 Namah. Thank you, Raven, for your hanging lights. Om Namah Shivaya. Dear Color, thank you for your quintet of ice cream cones. Om Dhryambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Bhushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamritat. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your trio of roses. Om Madinaya Namah. Yes, good morning to you, dear Camelia. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to my lovely moderators who help keep the peace. Do know that this live stream will be uploaded on my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel, along with the meditations and the readings. It's all there for you for free. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity within you. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Mamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to the light, from death to deathlessness. Om. May there be peace in us, may there be peace in our environment, and may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Everything I do is for free. You don't have to share that, dear Raven. Am I staying up all night for tonight, dear John Tyler? I don't think so. I know that is tradition for Maha Shivaratri. I do stay up pretty late normally anyway, so who knows what will happen. I might just end up staying up all night, which I sometimes do, naturally. but I'm good to take care of my sleep hygiene. And even though it's a beautiful symbolism, I do value my health as something that takes priority. If you are doing that, or if anyone else does, that's wonderful. And I wish you all a happy Maha Shivaratri. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for a perfume. Whether this is your morning, your night, your afternoon, your evening, anything in between and beyond, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your present moment, everyone. Namaste. Much love.